Please welcome Andrew Rehfeld, President of the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion.
On the afternoon of Friday, September 18, 1981, my father drove me to Baltimore Hebrew congregation for the start of my first Temple Youth Group retreat. I brought 2 bags with me, one with clothes and another with schoolwork. Not exactly sure what I was thinking. Most importantly, I brought with me the guitar that my grandfather Morris had given me about 9 months before. My involvement with Temple Youth Group and NIFTY would mark the beginning of a personal transformation with me, for it came off a very difficult year. Beginning that weekend, I found in my congregation and in the Reform movement a powerful framework, a way to think about my own life commitments, turning my life in a much different direction from where it had been heading. And that framework, as I saw it, was based on 3 key ideas. Number 1, the primacy of reason to understand our world and God's place in it. Number 2, the idea that each of us has a sacred responsibility for our own moral actions. And number 3, that our commitment to the beauty, majesty, and wisdom of our Jewish tradition, its texts, its ritual, our community, was of instrumental value to achieving justice in our world. During that weekend, some 38 years ago, I was inspired by a caring community of peers who took ideas seriously, engaged in meaningful ritual, and created the space to welcome an outsider among them. For the first time as an emerging adult, I felt like I was at home in my own tradition. Real transformation is most successful and enduring if supported by community, just as the synagogue and Reform movement would provide for me. Our Reform movement shaped who I was yet to become, first at Baltimore Hebrew, then through a decade of learning and leading at Kutz Camp, and then taking my first full-time job after college, working for Rabbi Danny Freelander as the director of JIFTY, the New Jersey region of NIFTY. Apparently it's not called JIFTY anymore. In time, I would join many of you, as you are now doing in your roles as a lay leader on the board of my own congregation, just a few miles south of here in Hyde Park, KAM Isaiah Israel Congregation. There, I learned the challenges of sustaining and building strong communities at a time of great change. My education and development came not simply in the boardroom, but as an active congregant, a teacher, and youth group advisor. And I benefited there from a community of learning, of caring, and service to others. In 2001, I left to become a professor at Washington University in St. Louis. There, I taught courses in political science, political theory, Zionism, and Jewish political thought. I followed that by serving 7 years as the CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This is going to take all day, folks. And now, 38 years after an awkward kid showed up with his book bag and guitar to a weekend retreat at Baltimore Hebrew congregation, I stand before you as the newly inaugurated president of Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. Even as my inauguration represents a new beginning for the College Institute, it's important enough for us never to forget the context in which this new chapter unfolds, unfolding as it does in the aftermath of the tragic death of my predecessor, Rabbi Aaron Pankin, of blessed memory. I begin a presidency that no one wished needed to be filled under circumstances we pray we will never face again. As I begin as HUC's 10th president, I recognize and honor the unfinished presidency on which mine is being built, for the particular shoes into which I step are not merely large, they're suspended mid-stride. Rabbi Aaron Pankin's legacy of teaching and scholarship will live on in multiple ways, And I want to note here the establishment of the 4 Rabbi Aaron Pankin professorships that were brought to fruition last year through the passionate work of Aaron's beloved wife, Lisa Messenger, and the support of almost 1,000 individuals, many of whom are here at the Biennial today. And over the last year, I just want to note how close Lisa has become. She's not just a supporter of the college, but also, along with Rabbi David Ellenson, a singularly important advisor to me as I learn about the history of our college institute, for which I am extremely grateful. Building upon Presidency's legacy and guided by his vision, we will now move HUC into its next dynamic direction. Aaron's legacy and that of his predecessors begins by recognizing the impact the College Institute has had on our congregations, camps, and many other institutions of Jewish life. For it is through HUC that our Reformed clergy and our Jewish leaders are trained to create the kinds of caring, welcoming, and learning communities that you have spent years and sometimes lifetimes supporting in your roles as lay leadership. And what a great privilege it is for me to be able to thank each of you here today for your continued partnership in shaping a vibrant future for our movement, for North American Jewry, for Israel, and for the Jewish people. Individually, many of you have made the College Institute central to your own philanthropy, and all of you, as member of URJ congregations, support HUC through RMAC. For almost half of every dollar that you contribute to the movement comes directly to help support the training of your next rabbi, your next cantor, your next Jewish educator, and nonprofit Jewish professionals around the world. Through this partnership, we ensure that a new generation of Jewish leadership rises up to lead American Jewish life into the future. Since its founding in 1875, HUC has expanded from a seminary that ordained 6 rabbis in its first class to become the largest graduate and professional school solely dedicated to the development of Jewish professional leadership in the world. We operate a rabbinical programs, the Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music, a School of Education, the Zelikow School of Jewish Nonprofit Management, the Pine School of Graduate Studies, a Doctorate of Ministry program, and the Lockheim School for Jewish Studies. That's the Jewish Studies Department of the University of Southern California. Not including the hundreds of students in our undergraduate program through USC, we have a current enrollment of 330 graduate, professional, and seminary students. We're now a global institution, driving ideas and building Jewish leadership with broad impact on 4 campuses. And thanks to the leadership of President Pankin, our work advancing pluralism in Israel is more central and important than ever. It's a legacy that we have to commit to continuing. And let me personally extend to you this invitation. The next time you take your congregation to Israel and you come to visit Jerusalem, please take a moment. Build in a visit to our campus there. Learn with our faculty, pray in our synagogue, and witness our transformative work with our Israeli movement partners happening on the campus that you are already supporting. With our 4,000 HUC alumni, the graduates that you have supported are building a vibrant Jewish future and bringing justice to our world. And how do we do it? Well, it's through our faculty. HUC drives the ideas and leadership that strengthen the Jewish public sphere, the institutions that form the canvas of Jewish communal life, upon which we establish and realize our collective values. The Jewish public sphere is the communal ecosystem in which our lives are lived. Our Jewish values are articulated, our collective problems are solved, and our future in no small part depends. The Jewish public sphere, with congregations at their center, helps us to confront our shared external challenges as well. The growth of authoritarian governments throughout the world, a weakening of democratic norms in the United States, the degradation of our environment, and the resurgence of anti-Semitism, hatred, and racism at levels not seen in perhaps 2 or 3 generations. Today we recognize the changes facing our congregations and the Jewish public sphere. We're seeing greater innovation, risk-taking, and experimentation in how communities are gathering and forming. And our Jewish communities are also becoming far more diverse than at any time in the past. We are multiracial, interfaith, interdenominational, non-denominational, intergenerated, interoriented, multi-ideological. We must prepare our students to lead communities to embrace this diversity and so much more. In response to this changing Jewish landscape, we at HUC are working hard to prepare our students to build, maintain, and sustain both existing and new forms of communal life and religious expression. Our movement's embrace of audacious hospitality and tikkun olam as its defining practices is critical, for it is through these practices that we create communities of caring designed to address the most pressing problems facing our world today. And I note with gratitude our partnership with the URJ and its inspirational leadership, in particularly President Rabbi Rick Jacobs. And I also congratulate Daryl Messinger, the outgoing chair of the URJ's North American Board of Trustees, for her robust leadership through her lived values. Even as our movement rightly embraces audacious hospitality and tikkun olam, I do have a concern that by defining our identity by these noble and righteous practices of inclusion and social justice, that will not be enough to sustain vibrant Jewish communities. For practices alone do not define identity, nor do they deepen understanding of the ideological foundations from which those practices emerge. And thus we stand confronted, often unable to answer the central questions that must define our movement. What is Reform Judaism? Why are we Reform Jews? Why are we committed to inclusion in tikkun olam? Or more simply, why be Jewish at all? Well, that makes three of us, two of you. I do think about these foundational questions by returning to the three principles that drew me to our movement some 38 years ago. I am a Reform Jew because I treat reason, evidence, and science as coming from our preeminent human capability of rationality, through which I am called to understand the world, including confronting our texts as human creations and struggling with the divine. That was number one. I am a Reform Jew because I accept my responsibility to make binding moral decisions as a morally autonomous individual, guided by rabbis of any gender identity, any sexual orientation, who have followed a sacred calling to be my teachers, my pastors, and my guides. And I am a Reform Jew because I accept a commitment to our particular texts, our particular traditions, and our particular people, our Torah, Avodah, and Yisrael, as a means to achieve justice in our world. For I recognize that being guided and grounded in a particular community is necessary to pursuing our ultimate and universal values of the good, the holy, the right, and the just. I continue to be moved by the power of congregations to create safe and nurturing spaces to enable us to seriously engage with these ideas. And I believe congregations are vitally important, even in these times of changes, to provide a place for each of us to study our rich heritage of Jewish texts, pray together, celebrate holidays, mark the full spectrum of life's experiences, and mobilize our communities to make the world a better, more sustainable place, bending it towards justice. Over the coming year, I will be visiting cities throughout North America. Please look out for news about my visits, about faculty visits to your communities, traveling exhibitions from our museums, roundtable discussions with me, student presentations, and more on our website at huc.edu. And let me know if you would like me to come to your congregation and visit your homes and your boards and your communities. And so now, I think back to that first weekend retreat where I was inspired by our movement and I thank you again for working together as we create new opportunities for generations into the future. Join with me as we move forward in a new and dynamic direction, finding our own voices, going forth with optimism and confidence, inspiring our communities with ideas, leading with integrity, and strengthening our congregations and our broader Jewish public sphere, for that is the work of Hebrew Union College. This is the work of our Reform movement and the Jewish people, and together we will build a foundation of goodness, holiness, righteousness, and justice for all who inhabit the earth. Thank you. It's now my honor to pay tribute to the power of one special voice, Cantor Barbara Ostfeld, who in 1975 became the first woman cantor to be ordained by HUC, and whose ordination nearly 45 years ago continues to symbolize the values of equality, inclusion, pluralism, and human rights for which HUC, the URJ, and the entire movement stand.
At just 22 years old, Barbara Ostfeld made Jewish history when she became the first woman ordained as a cantor.
When Cantor Ostfeld arrived in the cantorial program, she was surrounded by male students who were her contemporaries, and also by men who had long held positions on the faculty of great distinction and who had never taught women students before.
When she received her ordination, she blazed a path for the hundreds of Jewish women who would follow her lead in entering the Reform Cantorate.
The biggest thing my mom has bestowed upon us is just all-encompassing love, and we now get to bring that into our own lives and, put it out into the world.
Cantor Barbara Ostfeld has been, for decades, one of the most exemplary voices in progressive American Jewish life. It's not only that she brought the sound of a female voice to the cantorate, it's also that she became a spokesperson for social justice, for equality, for moral conscience.
She served for 27 years as the cantor of congregations in Clifton, New Jersey, and Great Neck, Rochester, and Buffalo, New York, before becoming the placement director of the American Conference of Cantors, helping to forge matches between cantors and congregations throughout North America.
She really always instilled in us that, Judaism was such, was part of her soul and her heart.
Going to the grocery store with her, people just stopping her and saying, how much they appreciated her coming to the hospital, or hearing what a beautiful voice she had, or just, congregates that I run into on my own, just telling me how much she's impacted their life is just amazing.
Now retired, Cantor Ostfeld shared her powerful personal story in her 2019 memoir, Catbird. These days, the Reform Cantorate is more than 300 women strong, and it was Cantor Barbara Ostfeld who paved the way.
Please welcome American Conference of Cantors President, Cantor Claire Franco, and the ACC Board Member Choir.
It is my distinct honor to offer congratulations to Barbara Ostfeld as the President of the American Conference of Cantors, as her colleague, and as her friend. Barbara truly is the human embodiment of Eitz Chaim. Decades ago, she planted her roots in the soil of a calling that was not open to women. Her passion, her bravery, and yes, her chutzpah, allowed the women like me that followed to carve our initials in the trunk of our profession. And like the branches, the fruit, and the leaves of a tree, Her place in our history will continue to enrich the Judaism that we all celebrate this evening. Barbara's voice gave a place to ours and quite literally changed the way that our people hear our sacred music. We are forever grateful. And so, Barbara, there could be no better tribute than for your colleagues to offer a song, this song composed by Jack Gottlieb and dedicated to you. You are our Eitz Chaim. We hold fast to you, and we, your supporters, are very, very happy.
Please welcome the immediate past president of the World Union for Progressive Judaism and the 2015 recipient of the Debbie Friedman Award for contributions to Jewish music, Rabbi Daniel Freelander, and this year's award winner, Cantor Barbara Ostfeld.
I didn't recognize that Debbie Friedman melody. When Debbie Friedman began writing and performing new Jewish songs in the 1970s, Jewish music was virtually an all-male field. At the very same time, Barbara Ostfeld integrated the male-only HUC-JIR School of Sacred Music, bringing her strong presence and determination to interactions with the faculty and the student body of the School of Sacred Music, challenging the notion that only male voices could inspire Jewish worship. Her perseverance and commitment changed the face of the American cantorate. Today, almost 65% of Reform cantors are women, and the cantorate itself has grown, almost doubling in size within the Reform movement. Women cantors have given voice to thousands of congregants who finally saw and heard a prayer leader who sang in their key. Barbara furthered this impact by working with hundreds of cantors and congregational leaders as director of the Reform Movement's Joint Commission on Cantorial Placement. making dozens of shidduchim, matches, and convincing skeptical search committees that yes, women could be as effective as cantors as men had been. Barbara, you are the Nachshon, the Miriam, the Devorah of the American Cantorate. As the recipient of the 2015 Debbie Friedman Award, it gives me great pleasure to present the 2019 Debbie Friedman Award for contributions to Jewish music to Cantor Barbara Ostfeld.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. First, here are my pronouns: she, her, hers. And here is my gratitude. Right now, it's hard to concentrate, but if I try, I can hear Debbie Friedman's voice, unaffected, direct, and strong. She made the texts live and shout. Today's Hebrew Union College Debbie Friedman School of Sacred Music amplifies today's cantorial voices, male, female, and non-binary. Can you imagine the patience of the Eternal One, blessed be she, who waited thousands of years to hear women sing on a bima? In temple during my childhood, I heard only men's voices from the bima, but I loved their words. I heard what I thought of as civil rights words from my rabbi, and I registered the liquid gold of my cantor's voice. The rabbi's words and the cantor's songs helped me forget my near-constant anxiety. When I listened to civil rights words in temple, I knew I wanted to say them myself, right? When I heard the cantor singing, I wanted to sing myself, right? And I wanted my singing to be golden and beautiful because I thought I was neither. So when I grew up and became a cantor, I figured that given the thousands of years of divine anticipation and given my own shortfalls, my sounds, at least, had to be perfect. But what I've learned after 44 years as a cantor is that the sound of prayer doesn't have to be beautiful. It just has to be intentional. Prayer needs to be our own real voices, singing our own true words. I was always afraid that my voice would break, that it would crack on a high note, so I never sang too loudly or with too much passion. But now I know what Debbie Friedman always knew, that sound sometimes breaks because that's what real sounds do. I think that we each have a true voice and that we recognize it when we hear ourselves speaking or singing in it. So I'm going to thank psychiatrists and psychotherapists. They helped me get out a true sound, and it was broken, but good. Rabbi Jacobs, I cried when I read your letter asking me to accept this award, and then I said yes and wrote the first of many thank yous. Hebrew Union College, Dr. Rehfeld, Cantor Cohn, thank you. And here come more. Female rabbis, way to change the face of Jewish leadership. Way to carry on what Regina Jonas started and what Rabbi Sally Presand shaped. female cantors, my sisters, Debbie Friedman's sisters, Miriam's sisters. Worship will never again idle in bass clef. Not that there's anything wrong with bass clef. It's just that there's a whole world of human voice above it. Right now, look around you for the cantors, my peeps. You'll see them and you'll recognize them as the ones who sing out nothing less than Torah herself. Eitz Chaim hi, she, our tree of life. Look around you for your friends. They're next to all of us. Right? And this variegated reform movement is our home. I first entered this tent on Simchat Torah of 5718, not far from here, in Oak Park, Illinois. And now indulge me, please, in a few personal thank yous. Todd is my Ezer Kenegda. Joe and Mike, no mom, I have sons. Jordana and Eliza, no mom could be prouder. And I'm a proud Osrui alumna and a proud Reform Jew. And since we are the largest and most diverse Jewish movement in North America, I'm a proud mainstream Jew. So from now until Sunday, from inside this wide open tent, keep it loud. It's 5780, and we need every single voice. Thank you.